Andrew, thank you for being with us. This is quite something. This is a story that started about Eric Adams, maybe a story a lot of Americans weren't really covering. Guy who got himself into a whole lot of hot water and is facing charges, into a showdown about justice and fairness and politics. I have to say, this has blown up in the last 48 hours in a way that I didn't expect.
Well, absolutely. This is something that doesn't happen at the Department of Justice in any normal times. You just do not see the resignation of career person after career person after career person. Everyone has analogized this, I think, correctly to the Saturday Night Massacre. But one thing I'd like to focus on is that last piece that you read, which was the former heads of the Southern District of New York talking about the department's intent to do this investigation of Danielle Sassoon and other people. This is what I think is going to happen, or at least this is what I'm keeping my eye out for. The judge who has this case and now has the motion to dismiss has the power to hear from the parties. And there is a stark contrast between what Danielle Sassoon says happened and what Emile Beauvais happens. And that judge has the ability to call everyone in. He can even put them under oath. It is a crime to lie to a federal judge, as it should be. And he can, if he makes a determination that Emile Beauvais has put forth fictitious and misleading reasons for what he is doing, and Danielle Sassoon is right, he would both be protecting her rightly from any investigation and getting to the bottom of what appears to be really a quid pro quo deal here. And so the judge has enormous power here to do the right thing and to get to the bottom and accord everyone their due process rights in doing that, because everyone has the ability, to be heard and to cross-examine before the judge makes a decision.
Explain to me, at any point, prosecutors can choose not to prosecute something. The Department of Justice can decide not to do something. But there's some question about why this all came about. Emile Beauvais' letter to Danielle Sassoon and teams suggests that these charges were political in nature and they interfered in the fact that Eric Adams was running for election again and the things that he needed to do. Tom Homan suggests this is a deal to get an agreement, as he calls it, to get Eric Adams to do the administration's bidding as it relates to immigration. Talk to me about the legality of any of that. Under which circumstances would it have been fine for the Department of Justice to say we're not prosecuting anything this anymore, versus what is not good about this?
Sure. So, you could have a case where a new administration comes in and says, you know what, we looked at the law you're relying on, and we disagree in your interpretation of the law. Second, a new administration or any new prosecutors could look at a case and say, you know what, we re-examined the facts here, and we don't think you factually can meet all of the elements of the crime. We don't think you can prove it. So that would be basing your decision on your assessment of the law and your assessment of the facts. We know that is not what happened here, because Emile Beauvais, in his letter to Danielle Sassoon and directing that this case be dismissed, said, I am not in any way disagreeing with your assessment of the law and the facts. By the way, that is the only thing that you should be looking at, and whether this case should be brought and should be done. And of course, by the way, when you're indicting the mayor of the city of New York, you're going to be really careful about that. Instead, you have, I think, in my opinion, a lot of bogus reasons, and also reasons that have changed over time, given by Emile Beauvais as to why he thinks this case should be dismissed. And it flies in the face of Danielle Sassoon's point, which is that this really is, as she says, tantamount to a quid pro quo. And that's the kind of thing that a judge can say, you know what, there's a conflict. I have two sides saying different things, and that's what I'm here for. You want to dispute what she's saying? Let's all come on in. You can swear under oath what happened. And by the way, bring those notes that you were so concerned that her people were taking, that you didn't want anyone to see, apparently. Why don't you keep those and give them to me so I can see what people wrote down contemporaneously? So I think that's the thing I think people should keep an eye out for, because here you have a part of the government that is the judiciary that is separate from the White House, that has an ability to be a real check on the kind of abuse of power that we are seeing going on at the Department of Justice.
Andrew, thank you for your analysis tonight. It's really important. Andrew Weissmann, former FBI General Counsel, former Chief of the Criminal Division in the Eastern District of New York. Joining us now is the Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. I want to just pick up on this conversation. What Andrew is getting at is that on the law and the facts, nothing should have changed with respect to the prosecution of Eric Adams. He had not had a trial yet, and if there were issues that he had to bring up about unfair prosecutions, he was going to have an opportunity to do that. This is motivated by politics. This is motivated by loyalty to President Trump. It's the opposite. If you go against Donald Trump, they're investigating you, and if you actually are on Donald Trump's side for whatever he needs you for, investigations against you will disappear.
Right. Well, Mayor Eric Adams went down to Mar-a-Lago on January 16th and 17th, and that's where they struck their corrupt bargain. Remember, Eric Adams is the subject of a criminal indictment in New York. The U.S. attorney assembled an overwhelming case of corruption against him in terms of his dealings with the Egyptian government. And a grand jury, based on probable cause, handed down an indictment against him. And the Department of Justice, working directly at the behest of Donald Trump, said, we will withdraw this indictment. We will get this indictment killed using our power to do so. And you just join our political team and you go along with what we want. And that is a corrupt and illegal bargain. And it's saturated with corruption because the case is about corruption. It was a corrupt bargain that was made to kill it. And then they had to go through the Department of Justice, where they ended up forcing out all of these prosecutors who resigned, including the very conservative U.S. attorney in the Southern District, who was a Scalia clerk, a Federalist Society person, and the head of the criminal division of DOJ. All of these lawyers saying this is absolutely antithetical to our oath of office. But the thing that gets me, Ali, is that this is completely reflective and emblematic of what's going on in this administration. Although they're mouthing all these pieties about going out to find waste, fraud, and abuse, that is just an utter illusion and an irrelevant distraction from what's really going on. The whole administration is about promoting corruption. The first thing they did was they got rid of 17 inspector generals in the federal departments and agencies. These are the anti-corruption fighters, and they have staffs of hundreds of people who are actually working to ferret out waste and corruption and self-dealing and bribery and abuse. And last year, they saved us $93 billion. Elon Musk hasn't saved us $93 in waste, fraud, and abuse. What he's doing is firing people, civil service workers like air traffic controllers, like FBI agents who did their jobs with respect to the January 6th investigation, like food and drug safety inspectors. That's who they're going after. That's not corruption. That's not waste, fraud, and abuse. So that thing is a fraud. They continue to wipe out the anti-corruption infrastructure of government. For example, they said they're not going to enforce the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act anymore. They've attacked the Public Integrity Division in the Department of Justice. The first thing they did was to fire the person who was in that office. And so you go agency by agency, department by department. What they're doing is demolishing the anti-corruption infrastructure so they can insert corruption where it once was.
And it's, as you know, as a lawyer, Eric Adams has denied the charges. He says he's not guilty of that. As Andrew Weissmann says, if you're going to pursue charges against a mayor, the SDNY was going to make sure that they had as solid a case as they could. But no one's been to a trial yet. They would actually have to prove this in trial. So if Eric Adams' big beef was that these charges were unfair, which a lot of people who are charged say, he would have had his day or days in court. I think it's interesting to see that these lawyers, lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, these prosecutors, federal prosecutors, again, these are conservatives, are prepared to go ahead with stepping down, with resigning, and writing these scathing letters to say, this is not right. This is not what our system is supposed to be. In a world where we're all looking for our footing on how to fight back against this, I think that was pretty encouraging.
Well, look, these people are real lawyers, and they're very solid and honorable prosecutors, because they said what we base a prosecutorial judgment on is the facts of the case and then what the law is. And they went through all of that, and they said that it met the very stringent test of probable cause, the same test that a grand jury in New York used to hand it down. So what changed? There were no new facts. There was no new law adopted. The law didn't change. What changed was Donald Trump's interest in the case and bringing over Mayor Adams to his side politically. And he was willing to trade off the justice system of the United States. And these people are saying no way. But I just want everybody to see this is what is taking place across the government now. They claim they are opponents of corruption. They are all agents of corruption, and corruption has always been at the heart of authoritarianism. We can either have government that is going to be an instrument for the common good for everybody and for democratic institutions, or it's going to be an agent of corruption for small groups of people, like the unelected billionaire bureaucrat who's been busy squashing cases against him in numerous federal agencies and departments, because a lot of them had investigative actions going against Elon Musk, and he's been able to take over those departments. And, well, you know, they disappear while he continues to rake in billions of dollars from federal taxpayers as a government contractor.
This is an interesting point you make. The New York Times has done some excellent reporting on this. The number of government agencies that Elon Musk and his friends now have access to that had investigations into business interests and things that Elon Musk was doing. That's a bit weird. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland.